Hi, I'm Mayce.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between. Well, hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie.
Today's episode is going to be really, really good because we not only have a great guest, and he is, but we also have a great quote.
I know. We are so excited to welcome our friend, Sang Yoon.
Yay! We're so glad you're here, Sang.
Thank you.
We are so excited. You've been at the top of our list for a while, and so we're glad to have you here. You are a leader who has really made values-based leadership really like an operational reality in some of the most demanding corners of healthcare. So why don't you share with our listeners more about you? Let them know who you are.
Sure, happy to share. So thanks, Mayce and Missy, for having me here. I've been listening to your podcast and a huge fan.
Thank you.
I'm very honored to be a part of this podcast. So
thank
a
you.
little about me. So I'm Sang Yoon, I'm the VP of Quality at ImmunityBio. And so we work on cancer immunotherapies and all kinds of cancers that we're targeting to hopefully eradicate cancer in patients. So a little about me. I live in LA, but recently moved from Korea to here, and that's a whole other podcast.
We'll have to have that conversation.
Yeah, so I was there for 2 years as an expat assignment working for one of the largest companies, and that's Samsung Biologics. So I had a good experience there, and trying to figure out how does a Korean American fit into a Korean homogenous society, and bringing in the leadership values there, as I kind of shared about quality there. So that's me. So I live in LA, back in LA. So I have a wife, my beautiful wife, almost 20 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she's also a kindergarten teacher. So you can connect with that.
Yes, I can.
Yep. And then I have a daughter, Faith, who's a 9th grader, first time in high school. So I think maybe you have high school boys.
I have one high schooler. My other son has officially graduated high school.
Started college.
Yes, starts college. Yes.
After. Awesome. And then I have a son, Eli, and he's in 7th grade now.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, as Missy said, we're really excited about the conversation because the quote that we chose for you is by Ken Blanchard, and it is this: good values are like a compass. Mm-hmm. They keep you on course when everything else around you is shifting.
So good. So let's talk about it, you two. Of course, Sang, we want to know what you hear when you hear this quote. Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so I realized in my progression, my career, everyone's had good bosses, bad bosses.
Yeah.
And the ones that's, unfortunately stick out are some of the bad bosses and what happened.
Yeah.
Right. I think what I learned in the different, I've been part of biotech startups, part of big pharma companies. And sometimes, unfortunately, people kind of lose themselves when they reach into higher and higher positions. And I always ask the question, what happens? Like, they are a good person, but something sometimes happens. So, and there's different of these, episodes, you see that in the corporate environment. So that being part of kind of bad cultures kind of moved me into what is the right answer for who leads with good leadership, good values? And that's why I was seeking that. And thanks to you, Missy, you helped me connect to Maxwell. And I felt like it just really resonated to me with Maxwell leadership and who he is. Just really resonated with me. It's like, man, this guy's a leader. I need to follow this man.
Yeah.
So I dug deep, did a deep dive in all his books. Thanks to your mentorship, Missy, and just kind of helping me learn all this. And how can I become a better leader in the pharma biotech world? Because oftentimes, and I've asked around all my peers, like, how do you grow in your leadership? And they said, I just learned from my boss. Was that the right way?
Which is often often not the right way.
Right. And that's about 100% of the time I hear that same thing. because
Wow.
nobody has really intentionally invested into what the leadership values and how to lead a team, because they're so smart and talented from the scientific side.
Right.
They just haven't spent a lot of time in the managing and leading side.
Sure.
Mhm.
Which is
that's why-
often, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
that's often why people become from management to leadership, right? Because they're really good at their job.
Yes.
They're really
Exactly.
good at the skill. So
Yeah.
sometimes the higher up are like, well, you're really good at this skill, at this job. You probably know nothing about people, but that's
Right.
okay. We're gonna
promote you.
promote you anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And that has happened many times. A lot of these small biotechs get funding, they're growing, they have a great technology, biotechnology, and then scientists kind of move up because there's no one else who's going to lead the team, but you're good at what you're doing. But no, we don't have much time to get, because we're trying to get to the BLA, get an FDA approval, much time to invest into your managerial skills.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Very good.
That's the gap.
All right. So we're curious about your thoughts on something, Sang.
Sure.
What do you think about values, since that's kind of be our focus, as it relates to business and personal? Do you think they are the same?
I think that as a person, as a leader, they are the same, but certain times some get more emphasized than the others, right?
Yeah.
You still, as a core, you are who you are. Things in your life shaped you, and you validate these things into who you are. I think in a personal setting versus business setting, certain things and the stressors of the different environments, things become more accentuated than the other.
Yeah.
But
So
you still
I'm
stay core.
with you, saying I think that your values, it's almost like what we think about ethics, right? When someone says, what I need to learn business ethics. Well, ethics are ethics. Like the same ethics they're global, or they should be, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I really feel strongly about that as well, that let's say for me, if integrity is important in my personal life, integrity is going to be equally as important in my business life. Missy, what do you think? Do you feel like you have the same, or?
I absolutely have the same. Like my core values are all based in my faith, and it is integrity and honesty and compassion and love and all of those things. But I guess I've been a part of organizations where they have values, and they have a value statement, and it's a little bit different. Now I think they all kind of tie into those core values that we hold personally, but they are different. So so for example, passion is a value that I now, if someone's talking about values, I have a value to have passion in everything I do. Is that a value that is based on my faith? It's not listed, but it is. So I don't think you can separate the two. But I do think businesses, organizations try to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'm agree. We are who we are.
Right.
But I think they show up under different terms based on if you're talking about your personal values or the value statement or the mission statement of the business.
I don't know, because who you are obviously saying you've known Missy for years, obviously I've known her for a decade, like you are a passionate person. You value passion. It's going to show up in your personal life as equally as it shows up in your business.
I agree with that. But I think when people think about values, they are thinking about the values of integrity, honesty, trust, compassion. Accountability.
But what I will say, and our listeners, you can jot this note down, and we'll talk about it, in just a little bit. If you're not sure how to find your values, Missy and I could help you. We have an exercise that we have put many companies and many individuals through, which I think, Missy, might be kind of what you're saying. I don't like to put words in your mouth, but I think you're saying maybe people don't realize there's a long list of maybe values.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They've never heard of before. Like,
Right.
I don't know, if we walked up to a stranger and said, is passion or partnership a value of yours? They might say, well, I didn't realize that was a value.
Right. That's what I mean.
That could be
That's
it.
exactly what I mean. Like, I think some of the things that we grow into being a part of who we are, they are our values, but they they aren't categorized as that by just the natural
Right.
progression of the way we think of things. Yeah.
All right, Sang, let me ask you, do you have an
Sure.
instance when you were staying true to your core values and you had to keep your team on course with those values and there was a major challenge, like something was going on and you were like, well, no, this is my core value. Let me give you an example. Like if you were in construction and there was a timeline that you had to meet, and maybe there would have been a shortcut to take to meet that deadline, but you're like, no, my value here is way too strong. I value integrity. I value the fact that we're always going to do things the way that our customers expect. I'm not going to do a shortcut. Has something like that ever came up to you that you're like, no, I'm challenged here because it's challenging my core value, but I'm going to stay on course? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm going to share an example
Okay,
from my healthcare days. And I think you'll appreciate this. At DaVita, I work for them, not the kidney care side, but the medical group practice side. One of their core values, Missy, you'll like this, is fun.
I do like that.
And we've done a podcast episode on having fun. I think we might have done more than one.
And that's one of the core values. And I learned a lot. This is kind of a tangent. I learned a lot from that culture as being very energetic. They put value into the people, and they even have fun as a core value. Like which company does that?
Yeah,
right.
In the medical field, it's very sterile. No pun intended. It's very sterile and dry. We don't have a lot of fun. So sorry, I kind of digress on that. But going back to my example, one of my core values is continuous improvement and continuous improvement of self, and that goes back to personal growth. So one of my roles at DaVita Medical Group was to, launch a continuous improvement program across 6 states, several primary care physicians, specialty care physicians. And they're awesome. They're very talented at what they do, but sometimes they don't want to change.
Sure.
So what we're trying to do, as there was this acquisition was happening, I was in the middle of it and kind of helping facilitate this, is bringing out how can we make our business better? And part of that is a continuous improvement kind of philosophy. So when I was working with these doctors and so forth, a lot of them was like this. Like, very resistant. They don't want to change.
Right.
I run my clinic the way I do. I have my medical assistants the way, they operate. I have command control of my whole clinic. So what are you going to do, Sang, to help me get better in my business? And so I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I can't push my values upon you, and you might just enjoy where you're at. So I had to find different ways to try to accomplish the task. And working with the executive team at DaVita, it's like, we want to roll this out. And so this aligns to their values. So it's part of a cultural, transformation I was trying to lead. And what I needed to do, because I was getting resistance in many different ways, and I had to meet with the physicians, kind of one-on-ones. They need to know who I am. Who do I represent? What are my values?
Right.
And what are you trying to push upon me and trying to convince them to do? So I think that's where I got kind of stuck. Like, how do I get through this challenge of my values? So, some people may not subscribe to those values, or it's not very passionate about a certain value, but it's trying to help align the corporate strategies and the mission and what we're trying to do as a company with down to the personal level. You see how that challenges?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, how do you do that? If someone isn't on board with the let's say they have their own values. Everybody has values.
Yes.
I mean, at least we hope they do, right? So
they do value something,
right?
Right.
They have these values, but what do you do? Like, how do you help people? I guess, how do you help people get on board with the company values if those values aren't necessarily lining up with their own?
Right. That's
a great question. Yeah.
That's a lot of us as change agents or professionals. You have to figure out how do you align mission and the vision and the value systems with each person and each leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, they have their mission, their values painted on a wall.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And that's where they stay.
And that's where they stay. So I guess the other part of what we're talking about, Sang, is how do you ensure that the values that the company or the organization has, how do you make sure that they don't just stay on a wall, that they actually are lived out. Do you have any idea about that? Like for someone listening, how do these companies, because Missy and I, and probably you too, Sang, we've all walked in companies and those words are big, we value, or our mission statement.
Yes.
But how do you make sure that those words come off the wall and live in the heart of the people that work there? So do you have any advice on that? Hey, bestie. I was thinking about our listeners this morning and imagine that so many of them are like managers that we have worked with from all over the world for the past decade, feeling overwhelmed and spread thin.
Yes, and they're probably finding themselves constantly repeating expectations, fixing mistakes, or carrying too much of the load, and it's time for a change.
At Mpactful Messages, we specialize in helping managers in high-stress jobs take back control of their team and their time. We know that they want to lead more effectively, increase team performance, and achieve all their goals without burning out. And we created a solution.
That's right. If you're solving problems your team should be handling, and you're explaining the same thing over and over again, and you're reacting to fires instead of leading forward, and you feel like it's all on you, you need to go right now to www.manager-reset.com and download our new guide.
And here's the thing. You don't need a new planner or another motivational quote. You need a reset.
So go right now to www.manager-reset.com for your free guide. You'll be so glad you did.
I mean, everyone has different perspectives, and the way I work it is you have to have discussions. Like, what do these values mean? How does the executives think about these values? And it first starts off with, are you living the values? Starts with
I love that. I mean, it seems like such a duh thing, but if you're listening and taking notes, like really ask yourself as the leader, are you living out the values and mission that you want your people to live?
Or for any of our Southern listeners who are leaders, are you practicing what you preach?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I love that. I mean, again, it's kind of like a duh, but it makes so much sense.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then number 2 would be having those discussions. What do these values mean to me as a leader? And just kind of have discussion, socializing it. I think, and making it fun, right? And what these values mean. And so therefore people eventually, hopefully will cross over and embrace it. And I've been part of organizations where values are very important. And many companies, it's just on the wall.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
I've seen it too. Yeah.
We all have.
I mean, I think too, maybe in those discussions, like why and where do these values come up? Like, why did you choose that as
Sometimes you wonder if it because it sounded good or if it's the right thing to say. Like you're just placating.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Sang, I have to ask you this kind of a sidebar.
Sure.
Didn't you and I do a training for DaVita together when you were there?
No, that was a different company.
It was a different company? Okay, for some reason I was thinking it was DaVita. Yeah, we had fun when we did that, didn't we?
They really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we had a great time. Okay, so let us ask you this. How, as a leader, do you assess whether a potential hire, right, like maybe especially for a leadership role, is aligned with your organization's values? Like, are there specific questions you asked or characteristics that you look for to make sure they're a match?
Yeah, I think aside from the technical thing, as a leader, you have to have chemistry. And chemistry begins with, can I trust this person? That's the first question.
Begins with connection, doesn't it?
Connection, and that trust slowly kind of builds in. But I think you'll like this word as well, being authentic. I think
love it. You know what words we love.
Oh, he knows us well.
You've been listening to the podcast, so you know which words that we will say ding, ding, ding. Authentic, intentional, all connection, all of those.
Yes. And I look for things like, did you say I did it or did we do it? And those kind of key words. And then as you kind of progress in the interview, you kind of dig a little bit deeper a little bit. But I mean, are they a team player when they say that? And just kind of, cross-check what they've accomplished and, how they carry themselves. What Would I want to follow this person if I had to report to him or her as my leader? Do they kind of inspire me? Those kinds of things. So
Love that.
from a value standpoint, are they expressing themselves and how they communicate? Are they being honest? And that goes back to what you said, Missy, is that connectivity. Can I connect with them, or are they kind of too off? Do they have a lot of pride, where it's kind of more standoffish? Just kind of measuring all these things as you just have a casual conversation. They say that you can, first impressions are what, within 30 seconds or something like that?
I think it's even more.
I do too. I think it's almost as someone walks in the room. It's the eye contact they make. It's the smile on their face.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, I have an aside thing because I'm thinking just like how things seem to be in the workplace. Missy and I are very fortunate. We work from home. We have our own business. So we're not going into an office. We're not going into an interview process. But I have heard that in this, I don't know, era, maybe just because Taylor Swift always talks about eras, right? So I'm trying to make ourselves relevant here. In this era, and this is ridiculous. You have to tell me if you're seeing this, but I have a follow-up to why I'm asking, that a lot of parents are requesting to go on the interviews.
I've heard it too.
With their children.
What in the world? The world has lost its mind.
Obviously, if you're saying you haven't seen that. So
No.
I think that's a good thing. And the reason I say that, when we think about values, right? Like if you can value your family, like family should be a value. My oldest son went to his college orientation and he's like, oh, I saw so-and-so and his mom. I go, whoa. What do you mean his mom was at the orientation? And he's like, yeah, there were a couple parents there. I go, did I miss something? Like, was I supposed to go to orientation? And he's like, no. I was like, okay. Cause like,
I don't even want you there, Mom.
You're flowing, right? Like,
right.
But you're leaving the nest. Like you're developing your own values. Like, why is your mom
Let me tell you.
to orientation?
Chris Washam, my husband, he's a college professor. He sees it all the time. Moms will call about a test question. We have definitely gone down a rabbit hole, but yeah,
but
I value independence as well. Like I want my kids to develop and be independent.
No, I think that's it. I think it all is part of the conversation. I have a two-part question, Sang.
Sure.
First, if you could just tell us, because we've mentioned a couple of ours as we were discussing, what are 2 or 3 of your top values that you, Sang Yoon, hold this as a value?
Yeah, first is probably accountability, right? I got to take accountability for my actions. I've seen in environments where people kind of deflect the accountability and blame other people. And then it creates this kind of cycle of toxic work environments. Yeah. But whether it's my actions or my team's actions as a leader, I need to own up to that, right? So that accountability from a corporate setting, from a personal setting, if no one's going to do it for me, I have to decide if I want to change my life. Do I want to invest? Do I want to grow, right? Sometimes people sit, and it's a tough economy right now. The people don't have jobs. I hear about layoffs. Okay, I understand where we're at with the economy, but how are you investing, turning this negative energy, negative experience into more positive, and just kind of get back up on the horse and try to learn new things? And I find that that's the people who take that self-initiative, and that's my second value, is people who take self-initiative.
I love that one.
And we're finding that's very hard. Like a lot of leaders and managers that we talk to, they're saying that that's their struggle right now, is that they don't have people on their team that have the initiative.
Everybody's waiting for permission.
Or they're waiting for someone to tell them exactly how to do it. Not just permission, but and that's where that micromanaging comes in.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, which is a challenge.
Yeah, I think you guys probably see a lot of that.
We do.
I see, I've seen in all my different companies that people are just waiting. What's my next thing?
Yeah.
So the way I kind of, counter that is, okay, as a leader, I need to figure out, how do my people want to grow? How do I put them in the right positions in the bus to help move them along? Or I think you can stretch them this way because you express some interest there, kind of move them along.
I love that.
But that takes investment as a leader to think about that about your team and know your team.
Missy often says, you got to slow down to go fast. That's one of those, you have to slow down.
Right.
You got to pause, like put the brakes on the bus. You don't have to, you don't have to press it full, but you got to slow down a little bit. So kind of a follow-up, now that we understand some of your values, has there been a moment that you had to make a decision based on that value and it was unpopular? People did not like it, but in the end, you're like, kind of like, and I told you so. I told you so.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't people, you did it because it was who you are. And it made you unpopular, but then in the end, it was the right thing to do. Do you have any of those moments?
Yeah, I think there's different ways that I've kind of experienced this. Sometimes in the pharmaceutical world, you have to follow the regulations. Not sometimes. You should follow the regulations.
Yeah.
Ensure you have a safe, efficacious product for your patients. So when you're in development, you want to go fast and stuff like that. So a lot of the development teams and scientists, they want to go fast. But as a quality professional, you have to be deliberate, intentional. What are we doing? How are we doing this? I can give you some options, but here's some of your risks. So really, I've embraced a more of a risk-based approach on things. Right? I can give you advice, but here's what could happen. So I've turned into more of an advisory kind of role versus, I told you so.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm kidding with the I told you so.
Right.
But I mean, I do
you can
really
do that.
like that
Go
approach.
ahead, make a mistake. It's like, when you're parenting, your kids are doing things like, okay, I told you so.
That's right. Daddy knows best, right? Mommy knows best. Okay, Sang, as we wrap up for today, do you have any advice for our listeners? Maybe someone who's out there and is unsure of what their core values really are? Like, is there a practical way for someone to really uncover their core values and stand on them?
I know, and the reason that we're asking this thing, it just occurred to me, is because there might be people who have never been asked that before.
For sure.
Like they don't have that inner compass that's saying, like the quote says, right?
Right.
No one's ever said to them, like, who are you? What do you value? And Missy said this earlier, everyone values something. But so if someone's listening and they're like, you know what? One, no one's ever asked me that. But two, like, how would I discover what my values really are? Again, kind of piggybacking on what we said earlier, like integrity, trust, loyalty, those are kind of the easy ones. But like the ones that you said, accountability and self-initiative and passion and partnership, those it may not even occur to someone. So how would you suggest? I love that question, Miss.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I went through that journey, like I shared earlier, because I've had some, difficult work environments and some positive ones. Like I sat down, like, what are my values? And so the next company I want to work for, do my values align to that company, right?
Love
That's the key thing. And whether you're an early careerist or later in life and, more of a higher level, it's like, have that moment to reflect. And I think Missy and Mayce, you mentioned some tools to help the audience with that. But I went through the exercise, just thinking about what are my values and why do I value these things? So therefore now I use this as my kind of a evaluation sheet or checklist as I kind of evaluate different companies and my future boss. Do these values have that kind of connectivity with them, with him or her? Because if I don't, then we're going to have a hard time on both sides.
For sure.
So
it can't just be the words on the wall. You got to live them out. So
Mayce, real quick, because I know I'm looking at the clock, we're probably getting close to wrapping it up. What would you say are your three core values?
Me?
Yeah. Because Sang just told us.
Yeah. So integrity, loyalty, and partnership, they're all very, very, very important to me. What about you, Miss?
Mine, I'm just going to say all my Christian values would be one, my values based on my faith, and then passion, people, and partnership. Yeah. And of course, it's an alliteration.
Yeah, alliteration.
I love an alliteration.
Yeah, she loves an alliteration. She loves it. All right.
I noticed that.
Well, listeners, it's time for our big takeaway this week. If you only take away one thing from this episode, let it be this. Strong values are more than feel-good principles. They truly are the foundation for consistent, courageous decision-making, especially when the stakes are high. Values are not just ideals. They directly impact a lot of things like operations, culture, outcomes. When everything around you shifts, values can become your anchor.
So good, Macy. And developing values-driven leadership isn't about, handing them a list of virtues or painting them on a wall in the office, as we've talked about. It's about modeling behavior. Yes. It's about creating a culture of accountability and then mentoring through example.
Yes. Well, Sang, thank you so much for being with us today. We knew it was going to be a great conversation. You did not disappoint, so thank you. If our listeners want to connect with you, how can they best do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so definitely reach out to me, Sang Yoon, LinkedIn. Happy to help, and I mentor and coach other folks as well, and happy to connect, and people need some advice. So
yes. And of course, we'll put all of that in the show notes as well for everyone. As we wrap up, Sang, what we ask all our guests at the bottom of the podcast is, what is your favorite leadership quote?
I think lately, what's my favorite one is every next level of who you are will require a different you.
Yes.
You go through this transformation. I think that's a powerful quote. If you really reflect on that, every next level of your life, your career is going to demand a different you.
I actually
so good.
Was listening to a podcast and he said something similar. Every next level has new devils. New levels, new devils.
Oh. So it's not quite as positive as Sang's, but it is. There's a lesson in there.
There's a
lesson in there. Well, thank you so much. And listeners, we want to hear from you too. Do you have a favorite leadership quote? Send it our way, and we might spotlight it on a future episode.
We'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do? We're gonna talk about it. Thank you, Sang.
Thank you, Sang. Bye,
bestie. We want to thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M _messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.